Hello, everybody, and welcome to another MyMusic. Now, today is part of this new year, probably by the time I get ready to put this out, which is fantastic. Slange Mahar and all of that to the new year, and hopefully by now you've watched Jules at midnight and you saw all the fantastic guests playing music, etc. And I've got another fantastic musician with me today for your delectation and excellence. And thank you for sticking with my music throughout the whole of 2024, everybody that did that. We're both recovering whilst we're recording this, which is obviously prior to the end of the year. We're both recovering. I don't know whether there's a word for it. It's a bit like recovering alcoholics, but people recovering from Christmas. Is there a term for that? I don't know. Do you know, Polly?
I don't know. I'm just trying to think if we can make one up because that's always fun. But yeah, I'm definitely I don't know. The COVID years were kind of slightly cocoony, and we've had a couple of years like that. And I'm really ready for next Christmas to be a little bit more disease bearing. I'd quite like to get out and meet more, run the risk of catching bugs, because we were just like, it was just our little nuclear family last year because we all had COVID, and this year just because that's the way it kind of panned out. But I'm kind of starting to feel a bit of cabin fever. It's time to get out and see everyone.
Totally understand that. I'm completely there with my business as well. In 2025, I've put that up as one of my aims and objectives, which is to actually get out and see people a bit more. Anyway, we'll be back to talk about Polly's new album, which is tremendous, Wildfires, straight after this. You have to hold on and just watch the bits of the video.
Keep on, don't stop. Keep on, don't stop. Keep on, don't stop.
Thank you so much, Polly, for joining me for the second time.
Thank you so much for having me back. It's wonderful.
In this beautiful little setting. I made some notes last night in bed whilst listening to the album. And my wife said, "What on earth are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm writing notes." She said, "But you're listening to music." I said, "Yes, I'm writing notes whilst I'm listening to music."
Is this a new thing? Did I set you homework?
Well, it's just that I had ideas, and normally if it's sort of post material and stuff like that I sit there and write notes for, or I suddenly have a great idea, which needs to happen. But I don't think she's used to me listening to music and then writing down notes. But it's a huge project. Let's start with that. And therefore I felt it would be amiss of me not to write some notes, almost, if you like.
You had to keep track of yourself, right?
Yeah,
it's quite long.
Well, let's start with the fact that it's a very big album, and secondly, you've obviously put pen to paper as well during the process of this, and continue to as well. So tell me a little bit more about that.
Oh, which bit? So
the writing, the writing down of creating sort of words to go alongside this as
right. Well, that's interesting because I'm embarking on another load at the moment to try and tell the story of it, because I feel like I've been riding a racehorse for the last 3 years. It's been like so exhilarating. It's been such an exhilarating experience from start to finish, and it hasn't even finished yet. It's not even out. But it's coming out in February, so I kind of feel like every stage has its own kind of, it's almost like a biome. And there was this bit at the beginning when I first began writing the material that was going to end up on the album. I couldn't finish a song. I was surrounded by like bits of pottery, like it felt broken, and I was absolutely beside myself. I thought I was going to quit. Actually, I just was like, I can't do it anymore. I've lost it. I've been writing songs since I was 10, so it would be quite a fundamental crack in my nature to stop or to, I don't know. It just was but I was going through that feeling of like, why am I doing this? Am I doing it because I feel like I should? You know, if it's going to be this hard, what's the point?
Mm.
And so I had all these bits of songs like lying around, and then I also had all these little bits of like, I don't know what they are. Are they poems? Are they bits of prose? I don't know what they are, but
Thoughts.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, they ended up being called prologues, which is what I've called them on the record. But I don't know what they are really. But quite a few of them are actually the writing that I was doing in my morning pages as I started writing the song. So they're like the swamp that the song climbed out of, you know? Yeah, it's just like, you know, like a fish being kind of seeping out with its web twin. I've often noticed that lots of my songs get born from free writing. I do a lot of that. I do it every day. In fact, I know you know that because I've seen you sneaking into my little Instagram. I've started beaming it online, and that's been really wonderful. Actually, I've really enjoyed.
I've actually talked about it on not this podcast, but other podcasts.
Have you?
Yeah.
Oh, it's
because
how do you find it? Because there's no two way. It's just a thing, and then it's gone. So yeah, tell me what it's like for you.
I talked about it actually on a podcast about content. You'll be interesting to know, because I found it really quite interesting. 2024 seemed to be the year of what I would term anti-content. Yeah. And I put it in the bracket of kind of anti-content, if I may.
Yeah, are we allowed to swear on this, Graham?
You're not meant to. And I have to beep it out for certain platforms.
Yeah, it is a little bit like
of what time you do it, then I can beep it out. Go on then.
Okay. So it is a little bit fuck you all. I'm doing this anyway. You can be with me or not.
Yeah.
But I can't, you know, that's it. Like either be with me as I'm doing something for myself anyway.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Did you see Bride, who was also on?
No, I haven't seen the interview. I'll go back and watch it. I love her.
Right. But did you see some of her anti-content, which I thought was fantastic?
I'm just going to be grumpy and show you, and then you know, it's great. I noticed how it slipped quite slowly into let me show you my really sexy pedal, and then it all got quite exciting after that.
Yeah, exactly. But I thought it was rather cool.
Yeah, I mean, I make lots of other content that's much more
contenty.
Generous. No,
I
think it's quite generous as well. Like letting people in at that very intimate moment.
Do you know what? I think it's more generous.
Yeah, I love it. I love it for that. But it does it changes that space for me a little bit. But actually, do you know what the big improvement for me is? It occupies my phone.
Yep.
And that is massive. It's made them so much better for me because I can't fiddle around looking things up that then suck me into something. You know, it's just the phone is busy, so I can't touch it. It's great.
Well, I'm going to be completely honest with you and say that I've kind of stolen the idea.
Brilliant.
And have kind of reorientated my business around it.
Really?
2025. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm so thrilled to hear that.
Because I've spent most of 2024 absolutely run off my hind legs.
Yeah.
I just feel like the pace of life has got faster and faster and faster as we've gone through since COVID. Really, I just think we've bolted out the stables at 1,000,000 miles an hour. I'm going to keep on with your horse analogy, and I just feel like we don't know how to slow down at all, and we're using all of this tech and all of this AI and all of this stuff so that we can just produce it faster and faster and faster and faster and do more. And within that, I think we're all taking on more, right? And then it suddenly dawned on me that I was using all of this clever stuff to do all of this stuff for other people. And so actually, only this morning, I jokingly made a little post. You can probably see it on my Instagram, where I jokingly say, "Do you want to know how to make £1 million business?" Right, and do it like one of those serious, you know, this is how you make £1 million business. And then at the end of it, I stop, and then there's a bit where I say, "Oh, actually, I've got to go and pick the kids up from club now. And just to bring it back down into reality.
Yeah.
Right. But the point is, what I've actually done is I've created a club where it's an equitable club where everybody can join and have a piece of it. And I'm just going to be on there showing people how I do all this stuff that I do for people. And actually, rather than get, 5 or 6 people to pay me to do this stuff for them, all the time, I'm going to try and move my model to being, I'll show lots and lots of people how to do this so they can go and do it themselves. And I think that kind of the worms turned on all of this stuff in life, whereas I think it just needs to be, we need to stop rushing around and trying to find a way whereby we can just, as you say, just go, sod it, this is what I'm doing. If you're not with me, doesn't matter, because I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah, I'm going to do it, and I'd love to. There is something palpable about doing it together. It's something totally. I feel the strength of it. It's really weird. It's like, I think meditation's like that too. Like group meditation is really different to just sitting on your own. There's a hum that comes from, and even though it's virtual, and even though people are miles away, I get a great comfort from, especially through the winter when it's early. And the robin is just kind of going outside. I don't know how much of the other sounds you can pick up. I don't know how much people can hear, but it's changed it for me. It's really nice. And it was an accident, but it does go in along with the album in a way. The original idea for it was, I want to do lots of things that are all about slowing down, because the album is about slowing down. It's 2 hours long. You have to give it time. You don't get anything out of it if you rush that record. There's no singles on it. You stick it on at the beginning. It's like a movie. You've just got to let it run.
Yep. And
trying to encourage people. So I've made 2 massive YouTube videos for the 2 parts. Now I just finished them a couple of days ago. They're like, one is an hour long and one is 50 minutes or something. They're the 2 parts, just to try and encourage people just to put it on and listen to it in one go. And it's so hard. So what have we done to ourselves? Why have we made this stuff so difficult to do? Do
you know what? It actually, listening to it last night, it actually reminded me of a kind of good old fashioned album. It kind of took me back to sort of the early 80s and going round my friend Mark's house. Hi, Mark. And my friends, it's a very weird dynamic because I lived in a little village and my friends were 10 years older than me, the majority of them. And that was okay in those days. These days it would seem as weird, but no, it was all perfectly okay. And we used to just spend weekends just going round to someone's house, normally Mark's, and just putting on albums and just listening to albums whilst we did other stuff as well, like make beer or play computer games which didn't rot your mind because they were so bad that,
like Pong and things like that.
Well, no, like Lord of the Rings, where it literally was a flashing cursor on the screen and you literally had to type in and you saw virtually nothing, and you typed in sort of like turn left and go along the track.
Yeah.
And then it would say you've turned left and gone along the track, and you'd go, I've done that. And
it's a bit like Dungeons and Dragons. It sounds a bit like descriptive.
You wouldn't actually see anything on the screen,
no.
Right? And then it said you've met Gandalf or something, and it was like
we were easily entertained, weren't we?
We were incredibly.
I had Space Invaders and we had a ZX81, and I remember Space Invaders on it. We loved it. Anyway,
but we spent hours. We spent hours, and there would be moments where, and this comes back to this album, be moments where you would literally just sit in it and then all look at each other and go, ooh, what does that mean? Wow. And there's quite a lot of moments like this. I mean, all of the little prologue-y bits, I kept listening to them and going, what does that mean? And I don't know that I need to know what it means, but
It means whatever it means to you. I think that's the
Exactly.
most important thing.
yeah. But I noticed there's a lot of nature symbolism in there,
Hmm.
or there's a lot of nature in both the words and the sort of sounds. So that's presumably part of this whole slowing down thing as well, this connection with nature. Yeah.
Maybe, yeah. If you that's what you're reading into it, that's great.
That's my reading.
Very convincing. Very good, convincing interpretation. It's lovely.
Yeah.
It's right because it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's yours, so therefore.
I love that. It's yours. Oh, even, and here's something for all of you people out there that are kind of my age listening to this. Although it's made a massive comeback in 2024 as well, because now there's kids out there with these as well. There's even a song called Over and Over with sounds of a cassette tape, which is a beautiful thing. And the cassette tape becomes a metaphor in the song. I love a good metaphor, I feel.
Yeah.
And there's this whole bit about fast forward and rewinding, which is our lives. Oh, glorious.
This is great.
I'm romanticizing this because it's totally how I felt about it.
I'm really happy to hear that. It was lovely. I must say, another thing that feeds into that whole the unity of that idea is how we recorded the songs. In that, I have never worked this way before, but literally we were just put in front of our microphones and off we went. It was terrifying. I mean, all the other.
Well, we were talking just before we came on about being naked.
It's about as naked as you can get. Yeah.
But, we were talking about cold water swimming.
We were talking about swimming. Yeah. My nudie club. I'm a bit shy about getting actually nude. They're very forgiving to let shy people still wear their togs, but that's
there's a lot of metaphorically getting naked in this.
There is a lot of getting naked, and some of them were like first takes. We did 20 songs in 5 days, which is like outrageous. I've never worked like that. And the piano player I'd never met before, and he hadn't heard any of the songs until he sat down to play.
That's exciting though, right?
He's amazing. Yeah. It was like so exhilarating as a process making the record. It was so life affirming. And so I did have a bit of an kind of epiphany about AI at the end of the session. I just actually felt, we're all so worried about AI now. I think we introduced artificial intelligence into music 20 years ago when we separated performances, because actually what happened was we were able to play together. Like I changed melody lines depending on what the keyboard player did, depending on what the bass player did. He rose up in different gaps, which you can only do if you're doing it in real time. You can't respond to each other if you're layering it like a cake.
Yeah.
And it kind of hit home massively to me that artificial intelligence is layering, because you can only have a musical conversation retrospectively. You can only do it backwards. It was so wonderful. And that's why it sounds old as well, because that's the way they used to do it. And also all the gear was old. So Heath brought this box of tricks where some of the microphones were from his dad's old studio from the 60s with the Beatles and stuff. I mean, it was just like, what? It was just, everything was so there was so much care.
Yeah,
there'd been so much care leading up to that moment, and then all we had to do was play.
That was geeky for a minute. What was the most exciting bit of kit that you got your hands on?
Definitely that Neumann vocal mic.
Right.
It was unreal. I felt finally like I sounded like I do in my head. It was really it was just lovely. You could hear all the little bubbles and this is great. It's a bit like flying first class though. Like you don't really want to have to go cattle grade again after you've experienced it once. It's like, oh no.
You can tell that as a listener. You can tell that because because you've allowed, there are parts where you allowed your vocal to be completely untouched by anything.
Large chunks of it, to be honest.
Yeah. And that doesn't happen unless you're really happy with what's coming out. Right.
And you're happy with what's coming out when you're in an environment where
Yeah.
there's that much joy in the room. I can't. Oh, Graham, it's like life. I'm going to start crying in a minute. I mean, it was just so. It was such, from a musical point of view, it was such a life-changing experience. It really was. And the length of the work is not my fault. I tried so hard to edit it down. I gave him all these songs because I was working with this producer and I expected him to edit. I said, look, I've written all these songs. I needed to show him everything.
Yeah.
We haven't got to that bit yet because obviously there was a moment when these bits of broken pottery suddenly came together. But I gave him all these songs, but I wanted him to hear everything so he could pick the strong ones, you know. It's like pick 10, pick 11, nice album length. And he was like, nope, I can hear a story. We're doing the lot. And he actually sneakily rang my label boss without telling me.
Wow.
To say this is what I think we should do. And my label boss, who's a legend, Derek Burkett at One Little Independent, was like, yep, go for it. Like, very lucky. I think a lot of record labels would have said, no, thank you. We're not having a 2-hour record. So, yeah.
Well, knowing that, you know, for a start, physically, it's going to have to be on more than one thing.
Yes. That, just like that. That's probably what Derek was thinking.
Yeah.
And then he found out.
You see how I did sound effects without even moving my lips. There you go.
Anyway, yeah. But yeah, it did. So I gave him 22 songs. We recorded 20, but if you actually count, there's 19 because one just didn't quite sort itself out. One came unstuck, so we left that to one side. So we had 19.
It's sizable. It's very sizable.
Yes.
Which is, you know, in a day and age when actually, if you kind of round it up, a lot of albums are sub 40 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, and actually it's even deemed, it's kind of deemed okay to sort of almost traverse between what used to be an EP and an LP these days and put out sort of 8 songs and call it an album.
Well, if they're great songs, it doesn't matter, right? Like,
true.
It's what you've got. And I wouldn't have put out 19 songs of stuff that I thought was
rubbish.
No. In fact, I would have really tried, you know, in fact, there's almost more, I think when it gets that long, you really have to be sure of what you're doing.
But here's the thing, in the same way that, you know, in the early mornings, and do catch, if you can, Polly doing her early morning writing. You won't get any talking or anything. You just get her occasionally nodding. But in the same way as that is it's the antithesis of what's the rest of what's out there at the moment. This is going to be in some ways very different for some listeners if they're used to those 38 minutes of honed down, you know, direct pop. Here it is, whatever. And you could argue, well, that's not your audience anyway. But I'm going to give everybody a but now. And this is the joy of it, right? And this is where my early listening was a lot of prog music, right? But you know what? Some of the best prog albums are prog kind of pop albums as well. And this has got almost that kind of feel to it as well, whereby within the songs, there's those little bits that are like whole pop songs on their own, right? And then you've done that on this. Really great example is Mary Louise. Really great example. As soon as I heard that, I thought I'm back to my notes, you see. I thought you are channeling both your Beatles fan and your Carole King piano melody. Right there. That is honestly the piano melody in that. Big shout out to your pianist.
Neil Cowley. Check out all his stuff. Neil Cowley Trio, unbelievable. Anyway,
that belongs on Tapestry. That it's awesome. That's exactly where I was boom, right there.
Oh, that's so good.
Really does. Can you hear that yourself or not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I hear that, and there are 2 other songs where I hear that stuff as well. The very last song has got something of that going on. I don't know if you managed to make it that far in the middle of the night.
No, I did. It's a fantastic record. And here's the crowning glory. You've mentioned the place that I was born, which is unmentionable.
Dunstable Downs? No,
Dunstable.
where? Dunstable.
I was born in Dunstable.
Excellent. A5 champion.
Nobody ever has anybody ever mentioned Dunstable in a song before?
I have no idea, but it's very alliterative. It's lovely.
Yeah.
And it's got big childhood associations for me too. So my best friend lived there, just outside.
Oh.
So that whole song is a kind of elided memory of teenage lying on the lawn staring at the sky.
I know Galliano sang about Twyford Downs.
Okay.
Right. And obviously Peter Gabriel did Salisbury Hill.
Yes.
And now we have Dunstable Downs.
Brilliant. I managed to slip Wandlebury Woods in as well on the second part. Yeah.
I wonder actually whether somebody from Dunstable actually ought to give you some kind of honorary thing for that. I just think
I'll take it.
That would be
Key to the city.
Yes.
Key to the library.
I actually have over there on the other side of the room, I have my grandfather's key to the city of London.
Really? Wow. Was he a mason of some kind, of Freemason?
No, he was in the Buffs, but he was granted freedom of the city of London for services rendered to the Queen.
Did he have any sheep? Could he drive
so you know, right. Yeah. For those that don't know, it means that you're allowed to legally drive your sheep over the bridge. Which I think I honestly think you would still get arrested for.
You've got to do it once, though, haven't you? Sure,
if you actually
you can.
But if anybody is listening to this and they're involved in the hierarchy at Dunstable, please do reach out, because I do think Polly somewhere on a sign somewhere at the edge of Dunstable Downs now ought to have some reference to this album on a placard somewhere. That would be beautiful thing to leave forever, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it'd be great.
As part of one's legacy and whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Many happy memories of that part of the world.
How do you I mean, this is we're going to speak about this even though this hasn't even birthed yet. Right? But how do you move on from an album like this? I have
no idea. I'm still figuring it out. I'm still I mean, it's weird because it's like I've got to tour it and everything's still going to be occupying quite a lot of space for me for the next year or so, I would imagine. But I've started writing stuff again now. Yep. It took a while. It was a bit seismic, to be honest.
Is what you're doing now? Is what you're doing now a reaction to this? In other words,
I don't know. I just let it. I've just got to do it and see what comes. There seems to be quite a lot. What I'm enjoying at the moment is writing very small little songs that are like clockwork.
I love that.
I'm listening to John Prine and like John Hartwood and like some of those really great sort of Nashville writers who can kind of tie it all up really tightly
in a couple of minutes.
Yeah, that's what I want to learn how to do now. So it's nice. You just kind of say, it's like, okay, that's my next challenge. I want to learn how to do that. And just always finding great people to think I want to learn.
It's always worth going back to the sort of 1920s for that as well.
Yes, that's a very good suggestion.
It is. I mean, the first radio show that I ever did, I played, because it was in the dead of night. I did
a start somewhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, and when it's 3:00 in the morning, I was given this show to do, which was great. It was part of my education in terms of both life and music. But I was given a show to do, which was sort of 20s, 30s, 40s. And we actually, it was just back in the day when you still had record players in a studio, and I had 78s, and I had to, get them all set up, and you put the needle on, and so many of those songs from that sort of period are literally 2 minutes.
Yeah. I grew up with Fat Swallow, and my dad was a big jazzer, and
everything happens in 2. Everything happens in
and they're
2 minutes.
they're so muscular, like you have to get right in, set your scene, you have to know what's happening straight away. Like they're all the kind of rudimentary blocks of like what makes a great song. Do I know who this person is? Do I know what's happening?
Yeah.
Do I know how they feel? All those little components you need. They're like in on by line 2, you're in.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. Yeah.
And you know who Minnie the Moocher is, and you're out again, and that's it. And it's a perfect thing. So yeah.
But it is hard because this has been really like, it's you can hear it's been a real journey as well.
Yeah. What do you want people to take away from it? Obviously, I mean, you kind of intimated earlier that you'd like people to take away whatever they take away from it.
Yeah.
What
I hope people will do, and this is such a massive ask, and like pretty much every musician I know that makes a record asks for this, and they never get it. But I just want people to turn off the lights, lie on the floor, listen to it once, let it take them where it's going to take them. That's it. If you do that once, I'll be thrilled. I think I'm going to do some listening parties to try and help.
I was going to say,
encourage that.
Really needs that.
Yeah, but it's literally you've got to turn off your phone. I went to an amazing theatre thing. And I wouldn't say it's a show because it was a show, but it was like more like an experience. It's the Punch Drunk, the Punch Drunk Theatre Company. Like, so they do these immersive theatre experiences. You go in and it's like the play is going on all around you, and you wander through different rooms. But when you walk in, they make you put your phone in a little pouch. You have to zip it up a bit, and they lock it. And you can take it out to buy a drink, and then you have to put it away again. But it's like don't be on your phone. I think partly because of the experience of what they're doing. It's like there's some suspenseful stuff, and so if you started showing your mates videos, putting it on your social media, you'd blow it for everyone else. But it was more than that. It was more about, we want you to be present. We want you to be in the room. Like if you're here, be here. And I've seen recent stuff with Chrissy Hines, like losing it with her fans at shows, getting their phones out, and I don't know. They're just that's what I'd really love, is for people just to give it that. Yeah, and it's really hard, and I don't know if anyone.
I think that's the right way to do it, though, is to be creative about it as opposed to get angry about it.
Yeah, no, I'm in there with everyone struggling with this stuff. It's not like I'm free of the attention issues. I have them myself, so it's not like I never want to sound holier than thou or ragey about any of it. It's just trying to nurture it, trying to encourage to make space. It'd be interesting to find creative ways to enable people to experience it that way.
Yeah, I've been involved in some amazing stuff over the years. I know back in the day when I was involved with radio at Greenbelt, which is a festival.
Yeah, I played Greenbelt a couple of times. Yeah,
there you go. There was a tent called Grace, and that was fascinating. And they did this kind of meditative sort of dub, sort of dance music type thing, but everybody had to lie down, shut their eyes, nobody could move. And it's great.
Everyone benefits from it. It's like if you feel really good afterwards as well. That's a nice thing. I mean, we do it in cinemas, so maybe if there's maybe I'll try and persuade every man to let me do a lunchtime thing. I don't know. I've got to think about it, and better not think too long because it's coming out soon.
I think it's about finding the right spaces, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is there an outdoor space that it could work in? I think that would be great.
Like if you did a silent Kayleys, where everyone
silent discos and silent Kayleys.
Yeah.
Where
everyone has their headphones on, so you're doing this. Like people might be listening to different things, but it's all at the same BPM or whatever, isn't it?
Yeah.
But if you had it where it was broadcast that way,
wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be great if we could find a way, tech-wise? Anyone tech out there listening, this would be great. In the same way that you do silent discos, wouldn't it be great if we could organise a silent walk where we could listen to the album?
That's a good idea.
Through like a wood or something.
Yeah,
That'd be beautiful.
that'd be lovely. Because actually, when I've been listening to it back from, when it's being mixed and stuff, you have to listen to it over and over and over again. The most lovely times I've had listening to it have been on trains. It's just a lovely way of, like, because it's a journey and you don't have anything else to do really, and you can go for it uninterrupted, or a car journey like an hour long up the motorway. It's great. So anything moving is lovely.
That used to be one of my. I don't do it so often, but I used to. From the southwest, I used to travel into London on a regular basis by train, very early in the morning when there's hardly anyone on the train at this end. And that was one of my litmus papers, really, for a great album. Just put it on and
let it run. Yeah,
almost semi-asleep. And that sounds like I didn't do it justice. But in a way, it's quite nice to be in that kind of semi-comatose state.
There's also a kind of 1,000-yard stare state, I think, where you're actively keeping other stuff out.
Correct.
It's like it's actually quite. I try and get there when I'm playing. Yeah, when I'm playing live, that's whenever I have a really, really good gig. That's where I've got to. It's like this. Your brain has gone into a 1,000-yard stare. You're not actually thinking about, because if you relax too much, you start thinking, oh, did I put the bins out? Oh, what are the kids having for bang? And then you fuck up, right? But if you find that place where you can be steady, but this other stuff doesn't come in, like it's a real holding space.
Yeah.
It can be.
And then when that happens, you don't actually think about what the next guitar chord is.
Oh no, you're not thinking about anything. You're not thinking about your hands. You're not thinking about the words. And that's when usually the music can get into people's laps, like without any friction. Like it's trying to find that way of it, just making the transmission pure without any rubbish. Like you just don't want any transference, any fuzz. Yeah, you just want it to slip into people's laps. That's where I'm gunning for, preferably into their chests, like a hot knife. Yeah. That's the plan. Or the kidneys. I've got a lovely friend, Olivia Broadfield. She's a great songwriter. She always says, "Oh, Polly, you got me in the kidneys." It's like, yes, winning.
I think some people talk about it in terms of inhabiting the song, which is another way of looking at it. Certainly, as a singer, if the song kind of takes over, then it's better because you're not then thinking about the sort of technical aspects of.
Yeah, no, it's lovely to let it drive.
What you're doing.
Yeah. Very it's a very nice space to get to. If you manage it. I'm so looking forward to this tour. I've got 23 dates, I think.
Yeah, all over the place in some very interesting little venues as well.
Yeah. And I love a big tour. I did 22 dates with Cath Williams last year. And it's the same thing. It's the idea of that repetition that gets you to that place where you can do the 1,000 yards there. I find it such a beautiful thing to just do it night after night after night after night. And if you do the odd gig, you can't get into that space. That's why I love doing really long tours. My family's not quite so thrilled at the idea of them having to do all the cooking for a month while mum leaps around. But from an artist, it's weird. I recently did a funding application that got knocked back, and one of the reasons they gave me was that the tour had been too long, and it was like not commercial. I was like, well, you get paid when you play, so it's not a completely insane proposition to do lots of gigs once you're out. But also, this is an artistic decision. This isn't a commercial one. I get better as I go, and I get closer and hot. My little engine gets hotter and hotter and hotter, and it's really humming by the end, Yeah. And I want to make the most of that state where you get into that kind of rhythm.
Yeah.
Like maybe quite hot under the collar, that one. It was like, it's not only going to be money that's going to decide that kind of thing. That's also an artistic process about playing live, which is really.
That's kind of daft, isn't it?
Well, it is what it is.
It's like an athlete, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah, athlete. That's me after Christmas with all those mince pies.
Back in the day when I used to play tennis at a fairly decent level.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I used to love playing. I used to love taking it to 5 sets, right? Because I was, you know, I was quite happy being rubbish in the first couple of sets because to me that was just warming up. You know.
Yeah. Extreme sports.
It's just like, no, you want to build to it. That's
It's lovely though. These songs are going to be nice as well on the road. I've got a feeling it's going to be fun.
Very quickly before I need to leave you and let you tell people where to go and listen to this, etc., and all of the details where it comes out. How are you going to find that? How are you going to pick on this tour? How are you going to pick what you play off of the old catalogue to go alongside this?
Oh, the old stuff. I haven't got there yet. I've got a rehearsal next weekend, and I will figure out that opening set. So we're going to do a little short set of songs from the old albums, from the first 5 records that I've made over the years.
Yep.
I'm just going to try and people please, to be honest, and play the golden oldies that people seem to like to set. But I do want to do 2 different. So on the tour, I'm doing a set 1 and a set 2, depending on where, you know, it alternates as we move.
Ooh.
And set 1 will be part 1.
Book consecutive nights.
You can come to 2 shows. And there's a little deal with the book. If you show me 2 tickets, I'll give you some money off something. But yeah, and I did this with Kath, and I really enjoyed doing this because it keeps me on my toes as well. I had alternating sets then. It's really good for me. It just opens things out. So set 1 will have a short, like half an hour of old golden oldies, and then we'll take a little break, and then we're going to play part 1 of the record in its entirety.
Wow.
And that's it. And then the next night we'll do a little short set, and then an interval, and then we're going to play part 2. I'm so excited.
So if you want to hear the whole of,
so if you can hear the whole record live, if you
album, you need to do 2 nights in a row.
Yeah, we've got it on the poster. It's like there are numbers after each show, so you can see which ones of which.
Wow.
Yeah,
it's exciting. It's really exciting.
Yeah, it's been a while coming. You know, we did that. The core recording was in November last year. So sorry, this is going out in 2025. It was November 2023. We went to Wales and recorded the bulk of it in the chapel, and then it took a little while for me to just do some tiny little finishing touches with Eth from January and April, and then we finished it in April. By the time it was mastered, we just missed the window for it to be released in 2024, which is why it's coming out in 2025. But actually, I'm really glad because it's given me.
Don't you feel like it is a 2025 album, though?
Totally. Like all the art, I did all the photo shoots for the cover and everything were all done in February. So now it's coming out looking like now. I'm really happy. All the trees are the right color. The mood of it is right. It's given me time to make these full movies, which I wouldn't have had time to do.
Yeah.
It's given everyone time just to kind of figure out what to do with this beast.
Yeah.
I'm glad we just took a breath and didn't rush and said, let's just take our time. And so it's coming out on February the 28th.
I just feel maybe this might sound pompous, but maybe spiritually everybody's in a better place to receive this in 2025 as well.
I hope so. It's quite contemplative. It's quite deep. It goes quite deep. I feel it does anyway. I hope other people, it does for other people as well. It did for me on the receiving. I felt completely lacerated by it. But in a really good way, you know, it hurts. Ow, but it feels good. It's good pain. It's good pain. And I hope it's a kind of healing, meditative, contemplative experience for anyone else that receives it the way. But I feel like I kind of received it too. It's weird. It's come in and out. That's all we do. Is deliver, isn't it?
So, folks, if you want to get yourself a New Year's present for yourself, you know. Start as you mean to go on in 2025. Forget fad diets because they're frankly so 10 years ago. And have a soul diet instead.
Lovely idea.
Isn't that a great idea? You know, let's forget physical diets. Let's go for a soul diet, because I personally think maybe if you get the soul right, the other diet might come into place anyway. You know, maybe half the reason that people eat all of the time is because or eat too much is because they're not very happy. Could be wrong, but you know, maybe it's better to sort the rest of you out first. There we go. So, Polly, if people want to get hold of this, best place?
So the best place is my Bandcamp page. There's a pre-sale, so it's available as a pre-order now, and you can pre-order. You can pre-order a CD, which is a double CD. It's really beautiful. Or, oh my God, triple vinyl, because I managed to crowdfund. Yeah, the label weren't going to do it because it was a 2-hour record. It needs to be on 3 discs, which is insane. But I managed to crowdfund. I did a Kickstarter, and lots of generous people helped me make the monster that is a triple vinyl. It's beautiful. I absolutely love it. It's very simple, but it's 3. So you can order the triple vinyl, and you can also order a book. I've done a hardback book which has all these beautiful photographs, because I went and took these pictures with Lena in the woods, and there were 96 of them. There's just not enough space anywhere. So I was just like, we're going to make a nice book. So all the lyrics and all the photos, and I've written 3 essays about songwriting, because I teach songwriting as well. I'm actually a professor of song and literature. I just recently got dubbed by ICMP, which is very nice.
Really? Lovely.
Yeah, very kind of them. So yeah, I've written 3 essays, one of which describes there's a crazy alphabet on the artwork, which is really unusual. It's called Ogham, and it's an ancient Irish alphabet, but the word wildfires is actually spelt out in that alphabet, and it's because I found it when we were out recording the prologues. We did one of them in a church, and it was carved into this mantelpiece. It's like so beautiful. Never seen it before. It's like a whole alphabet of its own, really ancient. And it almost looks like bears have been sharpening their claws on a windowsill.
You know someone's going to go and get a tattoo of that, don't you?
I think I might have to. My swallows might have to have some friends. Anyway, so there's like an essay explaining more about that, and the book's lovely. So the book goes with either of them, and you can pre-order all 3 of those at my Bandcamp page, which is Polly Paulusma, bandcamp.com, I think.
Well, go and do that, folks.
Yeah.
They are. Polly, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Oh, Graham, thank you so much for listening to it. I'm always so grateful when people just give it the time that it does demand quite a sizable chunk of time. And I know it's hard to give. Like, life is really hectic. So I really appreciate you listening to it and giving it the time.
I think it does people good, though.
I hope so.
I mean, in general as well, not just listening to this album. I think it does people good just to actually stop and take the time.
I think so too.
To immerse yourself in something.
And if any of your listeners would like to join me, speaking of immersion, at 6:45 a.m. UK time, Mondays to Fridays, you will find me on Instagram Live, scribbling in a pad. And I'm joined often by 20, 30 people, all in the ether, just doing the same. Or I don't even know what they're up to. Graham, I'm not sure what you're doing. Might be doing the gardening or something. I don't know. But it's just a little half hour.
At that time in the morning? No.
Picking your nose.
Normally, do you know what I'm normally doing? I'll tell you exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I am making a cup of tea.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm really happy that you're making a cup of tea with me, like that we're together with that. That's great.
Making a cup of tea and getting ready to write my post. So I write a poll. I have done it now because I'm very big into committing to something. And I've done that for about 5 years now. Haven't missed a day. So I do a poll for anybody that bothers. I've done a poll on LinkedIn every day for about 5 years.
Oh, wow.
Where I ask a question. And the whole aim of my polls is to get people to think about people and how we communicate with each other. That's, my real interest is how we communicate as human beings, or the lack of it, because I think we're getting terrible at it. But I think actually you know, we can save ourselves. You know, we can be better human beings and communicate better. So yeah, that's my thing. That's what I'm thinking about normally at that time in the morning, is how we stop making assumptions about each other. That's a big one. And do we actually bother to ask how what we do lands with other people? Because a lot of the time I think people think ego first as opposed to others first, and then where do I sit in that? So there you are. That's what I
that's lovely. I'm very happy that we're sort of connected for that little time when you're doing that, going through that process. And I'm sure there's lots of different, you know,
other people doing lots of other lovely little
things.
It's
not like Zoom, so it's not like I can see everybody, and it's just this little window of just, it's almost like fingertips, just like hello. But I
like
really
ley lines on Instagram.
Yeah, exactly. So if any of your listeners would like to join us, I'll be back on the 6th of Jan, and I'll keep that going for as long as I can. Maybe through tour it might have to slide a little bit, but we'll see how we go.
Well, we'll see where we go. Polly, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much. Folks, if you've enjoyed this conversation, then you know what to do. Go and share it with other people. Keep MyMusic alive throughout 2025. We will endeavour to try and bring you more great artists talking about their life through music throughout the year. Do you know, around about 450 of these now, would you believe?
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, kind of ridiculous, isn't it? But great at the same time.
Good archive.
Yeah, exactly. For me, I feel like I'm trying to leave something for, you know, my family to get bored with after I've been.
After you bored them when you were alive. That's how I feel. Like, yes, I can continue to bore you.
Yes, I can listen to Dad for the next 10 years. It's fine. It doesn't matter. But if you've enjoyed this, please do go and share it with other people, and do check out Polly's music. Until next time, thanks for joining us. Bye for now.